Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Bower. I'm Ryan Steffen, the Executive Director for Bower Center for the Arts here in beautiful Bedford, Virginia. And this podcast is all about exploring the arts in our community and shining a spotlight on the incredible individuals, artists, organizations, and volunteers who help make our community such a special place to live. And today I'm talking with someone who is probably familiar to many of you, the creator and original host of Behind the Bower, Susan Martin. Susan has been part of the Bower Center story for many years. She's been a board member, our executive director, and now serves as the director of development and marketing. Her commitment to nonprofit organizations extend well beyond us, including her work with several nonprofits in Central Virginia. But today I want to put the resume aside a little bit, and I want to get to know Susan as a person. What makes her tick, what she enjoys when she's not working, what brought her to the nonprofit work in the first place, and what she's most proud of, maybe even what she still hopes to accomplish at her time here. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the Bower Center, because this year is a pretty special one for us. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary. We'll talk about that, where we've been, where we're going, and how our community can become a part of what comes next. So Susan, hello and welcome back to Bedford and Behind the Bower.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. So like I said, there's lots of people in town who know you. You're a pretty familiar face. You've raised your family here. What I'd like to know first is tell us a little bit about Susan, not at the Bower Center. Tell us about your life, where you grew up, what you did, how you landed here. I know that's a massive loaded question.
That's a long story. Well, I'm originally from West Virginia, so I primarily grew up there. Went to college at Marshall University in West Virginia. Go Herd. My family, we say we bleed green. My parents, my brother, we all went to Marshall. My husband, that's where we met. And then that's kind of how I got into Virginia, was that my husband is originally from Tazewell County, Virginia. And so ultimately we ended up there for a few years after we got married, started a family, and then both had job opportunities over this direction, mine based out of Lynchburg and his based out of Roanoke. So when we started looking for a place to live and we knew we wanted a community where we could raise our family, Bedford was it. We had never been to the community. We had driven through, 460 many times going over towards Virginia Beach and things like that. And honestly, when we started talking about it, my husband said, it's where we've gone through the McDonald's drive-through on the way to the beach. That was the only thing I knew about Bedford. And we came and looked at the community, and, we had visited Smith Mountain Lake once before, and we just fell in love with the area, with the mountains and the lake and the region. And that was kind of it. That, we lived here for 30 years, raised our family, our kids. They're all still here. We are not, as most everybody knows, relocated to Florida a year ago. We're celebrating our 1-year anniversary in moving to Florida. And it was a good decision, but a tough decision because my 3 children are here and they're raising their families, and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren now. So yeah, that's kind of a little short about how I made it to Bedford personally.
Yeah. So it goes without saying, the reason you're with us in person right now is one of those grandbabies.
Right.
It's been great. Susan and I worked together for about a year in the building.
Mm-hmm.
And then you left, and I'll be honest, I was really lonely for a while. I was like, wow, I don't know that I knew we talked as much as we did.
Yes.
And that, that you bounced a lot of ideas off of me. I bounced a lot of ideas off of you. We'd come back to it like 4 hours later and text at like 10 o'clock at night and be like, you remember that?
Yes.
So it was a shift. It's been really great to have you back in the building, because I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I go linger over at your doorway.
Right.
I bring up whatever's in my mind. You do the same thing.
Right.
But what brought you back for this extended visit?
Right. So we came back because we had a new grandbaby on the way, and we just decided that we wanted to come up and spend 4 weeks so that we could really spend time with the family. I honestly wanted to come back and be able to be back in Bower Center. That's one of the things that I do miss immensely. I am a people person, and I love to connect and talk with our artists and people in the community and the staff. And so that's something that I do miss working remotely at my little computer in Florida. But so I've really enjoyed being back in the building. And so we came in. We do have a brand new granddaughter who arrived a couple of weeks ago. So we've just thoroughly enjoyed being able to spend so much time with our kids and our grandkids and out and about in the community. And I have really enjoyed being back in the office and getting to reacquaint myself with what's going on with the Bauer Center in person, and also just get back with some of our friends and our community members. I've had lots of lunches and dinners and things like that just to reconnect with folks.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people stop by at the Bauer Center that you talk to, and then you don't realize until you're not there how much you miss that part.
Right. Yeah. That I will say I knew when we left and working remotely that would be the one thing that I miss the most. The other thing I can tell you is, and I just mentioned this to my husband the other evening, working in the building and in the office, as you know, is exhausting. Yeah. And I am more tired when I go home at the end of the day than I am working remotely and I walk out of my little office at our house.
There's a lot of shifting gears in that building. Yes. I love that part. You know?
That same thing. That's exactly why I went into nonprofit, because every day is different. And that was what I wanted. I didn't want to sit at a desk and a computer, which I do more of that now, but it's still a great variety of things that I'm doing from a fundraising, grant writing, marketing standpoint. But that was part of the reason why I love nonprofit, is because every day is different.
Yeah. So before we talk about work, let's talk about what do you like to do outside of work? I know that you are like me and you are a workaholic.
I am.
You think about work all the time. You have ideas, which is why we send those messages at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But what do you like to do outside of work?
Primarily spend time with my family. That is the one thing that I enjoy the most. We love the outdoors. When we were living here, we loved hiking and exploring the area, and just going out and about in the community. We also love to travel. We're not huge like jet setters across the globe, but we do love to travel. We love the beach. We obviously love Disney World, but we do like to, kind of be on the go a little bit as well.
Have you renewed your season pass yet?
We have.
I figured. Every once in a while she'll send me a photo of what she's doing at Disney World, and it reminds me that I'm not at Disney World.
Right. Yeah. That is the one benefit of, we do now live 45 minutes from Disney World, and we are huge. My whole family, we're huge Disney people, have been since our kids were little. My husband, it's funny because he did not go as a child. So I had an aunt that lived in Orlando, and we went every Easter. So I grew up with Disney, and then he didn't. And so now he's the big child. Ever since our kids were old enough to go, we've gone a lot. But also my parents, when we moved to Bedford, my parents also relocated to Florida for retirement. And so we always had that opportunity again. We took the kids down on spring break. We could go to Disney for a day or two, spend the rest of the week with the grandparents. And so that's become a regular thing for them as well. And now that we live there, that's all they want to do is come down to visit and go to Disney.
Yeah. I feel like you see your family an awful lot.
I do see my family quite a bit. But that's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I know we talk a little bit about work here, not the Bauer Center yet, but just about how you landed where you are. Because I'm going to guess 16-year-old Susan Martin did not think, you know what I want to do when I grow up? Run a nonprofit.
Exactly.
So take me through your path about where you thought you were going and kind of how you landed where you are.
So interestingly enough, 16-year-old Susan was very involved in journalism in high school. So I was the yearbook editor and the newspaper editor. And at that time, we did not have like radio and the ability to do that kind of thing. I'm old. We had very old, early on in the computer age as well. So most of it was print media, but I was really interested in broadcast media. So I actually applied at some different colleges for journalism. Marshall University just happens to have an amazing journalism department and is one of the top, at least on the Eastern Coast. And that was the reason that I went there. I originally was in broadcast media when I first went there. So for the first year and a half or so, that was kind of my focus. I then had some other classes that were more related to print media, marketing, PR, and advertising. And so I kind of switched. I did do a stint on the radio station at Marshall University and did some broadcast media, but I found that I preferred the print side of it and the advertising design and layout. I was never really big into art in high school, other than just our normal art classes, but I loved the creativity of the design and development of the newspaper. And, back then when you did a yearbook, you hand laid it out. There was no computers to do computer and graphic design. You did it all by hand. And so I was very interested in that kind of layout and design. So I switched over to advertising, public relations with a minor in marketing. And then the other thing that kind of led me down the path of nonprofit was that my advisor at Marshall, her career had been in nonprofit advertising and marketing. And so I think that there was some influence there. I was on some different university organizations like Public Relations Student Society of America and the Ad Federation organization. And we did we competed in these big campaigns in both of those. And we got to go to like Dallas and, and other locations for the competitions and things like that. So I was really interested in that side of it as well. So that's kind of what started sparking my interest in nonprofit work as well.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been involved. So most of your professional career has been in nonprofit.
Pretty much. I did a short stint when we moved to Bedford. I moved here to take a job as a pharmaceutical sales rep. I had a sister-in-law that was in pharmaceutical sales, and obviously the money was very good. And, I was young and had one baby, and we thought, oh, this will be a great opportunity. So I did do a short stint of about 3 years when we moved here in pharmaceutical sales. I had been in nonprofit before that. Before we moved here, I actually worked for the Girl Scouts for about 4 years out of college. That was basically my first job. And I was what back then they called them field executives. So I covered like a 5-county territory where I went out and about and promoted Girl Scouts and recruited Girl Scout troop leaders. I trained them. I helped to create camps and Girl Scout programming and things like that. So it was a lot of fun, actually. And so I did that for about 4 years. And then when we moved up here, I went into pharmaceutical sales, did that for about 3 years. It was fine. I was expanding my family, and the travel of the job got to be way too much. And so I immediately started looking to go back into nonprofit and wound up at Center in the Square in downtown Roanoke for about 5 years before coming into Bedford.
Yeah. I'm sensing right now that fulfillment is something that's really important to you.
Yes.
Starting with the Girl Scouts, obviously a very fulfilling, community-based organization. I also see that the community is kind of at the core of your spirit.
Yes, definitely.
And so I'm, the pharmaceutical sales, I could see that, but I'm like, I'm not sure how much passion she had for drugs.
Yeah. Like I said, I was very good at communicating with the office staff and the doctors and things like that. But a lot of it was I was more on a personal level with them than I guess a professional level, which was actually good for me because sales were good. But they liked me because I was interested in their families and what were they doing and in their community. And when I walked into an office, I could remember their kids' names. And, that was just the way, I wasn't. I did fine in it, but I was not a hard salesperson by any means.
Yeah. The people seem to matter to you way
They do,
more.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Circle in the Square. What'd you do there?
So Center in the Square.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I started out when they first hired me as just kind of a additional fundraising coordinator. And soon, not long after, they had hired a couple of people in that area. And not long after they hired me, one of the other individuals that they had hired quit. She didn't stay. And they decided to change up the jobs. So I actually ended up becoming the vice president of foundation relations and fundraising.
Okay.
So while I was there, it was primarily I did, grant writing and grant research. I did a lot of fund development, working with individuals in the community, corporate sponsorships, event planning, event development. I did have an event coordinator, so we worked hand in hand. So yeah, anything fundraising aspects for the organization, that's primarily what I did.
All right. And then they drew you closer, so you came to Bedford.
I did, yeah. So I did that for about 5 years. And at that same time, of course, my kids were all getting into school and starting to have interest in extracurricular activities. And my husband always worked at that point in time out of the home, and his job was actually in Salem. So I was working in Roanoke and he was working in Salem. And it was difficult for us to be around for the kids' events and activities, come flying home from work.
Yeah.
And we had to have after school care for our kids and things like that. So I started looking for an opportunity to bring myself back to Bedford where I could work within the community and be here and have some freedom to, be able to go to their school functions and things like that. And lo and behold, the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce was looking for a new president and CEO. And while I didn't have the experience from the business connection standpoint, I did have fundraising and budgeting and event planning, which is a big portion of what that organization does. And I lucked into that position with the Bedford Area Chamber of Commerce and was in it for almost 12 years. So it was truly a great opportunity for me. And again, it allowed me to get really involved in this community, get to know, pretty much everybody. My kids used to joke when they were young and we would go out to dinner or something and it would be, okay, how many minutes do you have before somebody comes up to our table and wants to talk to mom about something going on with their business or something that's happening in the community, or ask her a question? Because everywhere we would go, I would know everybody, right. And somebody would stop to talk to me. And sometimes I would even take the kids out shopping and they would make me promise, will you not talk Chamber of Commerce when we're in the store? And I'm like, I'll do my best. But yeah.
But it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But yeah, so I really, really love that job. I got very involved in workforce development and working with the school systems to help the kids to, better prepare themselves for the workforce. After school, things like that. That was kind of a passion of mine. I developed some new programs through the chamber that were in collaboration with Bedford County Public Schools, a career internship program. They do a career expo. So those were some programs that I was really proud of that are still in existence today.
Yeah. And I'm guessing your being on the chamber is in some way related or largely related to how you ended up at the Bauer.
It is. It's funny because the Chamber of Commerce does ribbon cuttings and celebrations for its member organizations. And so I was there when we cut the ribbon for the Bauer Center for the Arts, got to know Sarah very well. I later served on the board of directors. My kids were very involved. It was funny when we were cleaning out the house to get ready to move last year, and I started cleaning out all those bins of art projects and stuff that the kids had done. I came across one of my daughter's pieces of art that had been in the Bauer Center Youth Art Show many years ago. It was very early on, and it was kind of neat to see it. It was still framed with a little mat and had the little card on it, where she had her piece. And so I can recall coming to Bauer Center, with when my kids were young and were participating in the youth art shows and things like that as well.
I love that the Bauer Center's now been around long enough to become part of that generational.
Yes. Yeah. Really. It is. Now, my kids, my grandkids, one of my grandchildren will be turning 4 and, will be hitting kindergarten in another year. And so, it'll come full circle to where hopefully one day one of her pieces of art will be at the Bauer Center School Art Show. Yeah.
Right. And she'll remember that's where her grandma used to.
That's right.
So, you've lived a whole life in nonprofits, and those who know me or have listened to me know I'm very new to this. I'm about a year and a half into it now. What are some things that you feel like you've learned in a lifetime about nonprofits, that you could share with me? Just lessons you've learned in life, lessons you've learned about how nonprofits run, why they're important to a community, why they're important to an economy.
Yeah.
What are some things you've learned about nonprofits being
Wow.
running for so long?
That's a big question.
You said no hard questions.
I know you said
that was a really hard
promise. That's a hard one. I'm really not sure. I mean, I have learned so much over my time, and my stint in nonprofit has now probably been 30 years. Yeah. And I think,
let me narrow it down. Why are nonprofits important to communities?
Well, they're just so extremely important because they bring so much to the community, and they all do something different. I think that from nonprofits, I mean, for-profits do a great job too, but we're very cognizant of our dollars and how they're spent. I think that's something that a lot of people don't know. We are always fundraising and looking for donations and contributions to support the programs and or services that we may be providing. But I think we're all trying to provide something that our community has a need for in some way, shape, or form, and we're trying to do it as cost effective as possible. And I think the community does need to realize, though, that does require paid staff, and we do have to pay our bills and, our overhead and things like that. And that can come at quite an expense. We all have those same things that we have to pay for that you do with your home. The air conditioning breaks down, or that's
a tiny one.
all the things that that have to be maintained with those organizations has a cost involved, and we're trying to offer these programs and services at a free or affordable rate, because from our standpoint, Bauer Center, we want the arts to be accessible to everyone. We want anybody that walks in that door to have access to the arts. And we do our best to make it either very affordable, excuse me, or offer free programming, because we just know how important the arts are to anybody. And somebody will say, "Oh, the arts don't mean anything to me." It does in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. If you look around your home, or you look at the way that you were raised, or what you did as a child, in some way, shape, or form, the arts have impacted you in everyday life.
I think COVID helped actually frame for everyone the importance of the arts.
Yes.
Because when you are locked up by yourself in your house with you and one other person,
right,
what do you turn to? You turn to TV, you turn to movies, you turn to music. You go and take a walk, but because it's so quiet out there and nobody's moving around, you start to pay attention to the artistry. I remember going on walks and talking to my kids about like the architecture of buildings,
right?
And thinking, my kids are talking about architecture of buildings.
Yes.
I didn't even know that they knew anything about that. But it was COVID that forced us to slow down.
Right.
They couldn't go to school. They couldn't go to their activities. And the arts were really, I feel, what saved a whole lot of us.
Right. If you're listening to the music on your radio of your car, like you said, if you're watching TV, those are all forms. Those are, forms of art. And so it impacts your everyday life. And I don't think that a lot of people can, think about that when they think, oh, an arts and cultural organization, that's nice, but that's not really for me. Or what is that doing for my community? Mm-hmm. The other thing too is that the arts lend to a better quality of life in your community. So having, arts and cultural centers, that's the other thing, is people think, oh, they're in every community. No, they're not.
They're absolutely not.
And Bedford, being the size that we are, is extremely fortunate to have the Bauer Center for the Arts in its community, especially because of, the collaborative opportunities that we offer, where we work with other organizations, where we're coordinating with our schools so that we can try to offer opportunities that the kids might not be able to get in the school day, or as an extension of what they're getting in school. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for people to see the involvement and the impact that they can have on them, even if it's not, they don't see it as a direct impact. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me narrow it down a different way. So what have you learned about learned about yourself through nonprofits? What have you learned personally? What has working through nonprofits taught you about yourself?
I think that working in nonprofits, it made me so. Let me take a step back. When I was younger, we moved quite a bit growing up, just because my dad was in the corporate world and worked for the same company. And as he grew, then we would have to relocate. It wasn't a bad thing, but it did something to me where it caused me to be more shy than it did to be outgoing, because starting a new school, and it was difficult to make new friends. And, it was nothing it ended up in the long run being good for me because of the experiences that I got. But I was extremely shy even when I went to college, which was why broadcasting was so interesting to me, because I had an interest in journalism, but it was through the print and I was behind the scenes doing all these things. And so when I went away to school, I tried to get more involved in the broadcasting, doing speech classes, things like that. But I was always afraid to try. I did play in the band in school somewhat for a few years, but even because we moved, then I would kind of draw back in and be nervous about trying out for band or things starting over again. So those were things, that was something that was difficult for me. Going into the nonprofit world and working with these organizations helped me immensely again as an adult to come out of my shell, because one of the things that I learned was how to be a part of the community and to communicate with my community. And that was one of the things that, that I have grown from, is the ability, to be more involved, to feel comfortable in talking pretty much with anybody now. And enjoying that aspect of it, which is, I think, why I liked the Chamber of Commerce and working at Bauer Center, is because you're so much one-on-one involvement with different people and different other organizations, and with the chamber, with businesses, and learning so much. I mean, I've learned so much over my career of all different aspects, from the business side to workforce development to economic development to arts to the creative side, which has just been wonderful. It's just helped me grow in so many ways.
And I'll say, in the time that I've known you, there is definitely a thirst for knowledge in general. You'll send me articles. You'll send me, you should listen to this webinar.
Yeah.
And I do more of those things than you actually think I do. Pretty much every article you send me, I print out and I read at some point, because I feel like you've learned something from it and feel like there is something valuable for me to learn from it. I'm constantly trying to grow and learn as well. Another thing that I thought that was interesting was you talk about with your move, that fear to have to withdraw and then re-find your people. And it keeps reminding me of a phrase that keeps popping up at the Bauer Center over the last year and a half that I've kind of been at the front desk, which is people who are stopping by to find their people. And they'll say, I would have never guessed a small town had an art center, and I just had to stop by because I feel like my people are in this building.
Right.
And so that's where we need to start talking about what we have and when we have it and where they can start finding those people.
Yes.
If artists are your people, like visual artists, then, come to an art reception for one of the galleries. You'll meet lots of artists and lots of people in this community who are very interested in that.
Yes.
If live music is your thing, we've got all kinds of concerts, and you're going to find those people at those concerts as well.
Right. Yeah.
So, I love being an opportunity in a space in this small town where people can find their people.
Right.
And again, if you've listened to this podcast before, it's no secret that's how I found it.
Yes.
Is I was looking for my own people. So
Yes.
I signed up for a class.
Yes.
I thought, I love art. I love the art center. I'm too scared to walk in the door and say, hey, I'm here. Let me see your, I'm not like that.
Right.
But I would take a class and then just start wiggling in and getting to know people, so that I can find this community that is welcome and loving in this.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts. And that's what I miss most about not being in the Bauer Center is meeting new people that were coming in and participating in coming to see an exhibit or attending one of our art receptions. Because just talking to all those people and getting their feedback on if it was their first visit, what they thought, but also connecting them with others. And we talk about that all the time as a theme for Bauer Center for the Arts. It is an opportunity to connect. Whether you take a class and you connect with people in the class, even if you just attend a concert or performance, our concerts are wonderful in that individuals will stay after and talk with the artists after the show is over. They love to do that. So there's more connections with individuals that are there. And it may be somebody that you've never met, but they have a love for a certain style of music, the same that you do. And that's why you're there. And then you make a new connection that way. So yeah, the connections and building that kind of community through our programs and the services that we provide is one of my favorite things about the organization.
So speaking of that, we've got a lot of things that happen behind those walls and beyond those walls. What are some things that you think people in the community aren't aware of or may not know that we even do there or have there?
I mean, I think a lot of people are still not aware of the fact that one, that we offer classes for youth and adults, various levels. If you just want to come in and try your hands at something for fun, it's not formal. It is. There are some painting classes where you're going to learn some very good techniques and how to do certain things, but it's all in what you want to put into it and how creative you want to get. It's not a thing where it's a paint by numbers and your work has to look exactly like the instructors. You're in there to create things, that from what you see, what your vision is. And I think that people are a little scared sometimes to come in for those kind of classes and workshops, and also don't realize that those are being offered. And there's just so much variety of things. And you can come in and try a workshop that's like a one afternoon type thing. And then if you fall in love with it, then there's probably going to be a class down the road that you can expand upon. I think most people realize that we do have art on display, or that we have exhibits. I don't think that they realize that we rotate them about every 6 to 8 weeks. So a lot of people think that you're more like a museum and you come in and look at the art once and, oh, I've seen it, been there, done that. I don't need to come back. That's not true. You need to follow our social media or go to our website and see all the things that we're offering, and the fact that you can come back in and see something different, every couple of months.
Right.
And we do that for a reason, because we want you to keep coming back. We don't want it to be just a one-off and come in. And I think people are also aware of like concerts and performances and things like that. I don't think they're aware of like the outreach programming that we do. Two of the programs that I'm very proud of, because I helped to create them, are our CAB Kids, which is our Creative Arts for Bauer Kids. And those are primarily free opportunities for families to come in and bring their kids to Bauer Center to experience the arts, and then to do some kind of hands-on art project as well. Those are typically on a Saturday. We've been doing them about every other month, and you can look for those on our website. And those are great opportunities because we bring in outside performers sometimes. We collaborate with Opera on the James and bring in their young performers. And then the kids also get to do a craft or an art activity before they leave as well. I think that that's extremely important to know, that we want to encourage families to come in and bring the kids in and expose them to the arts. And then our other side is our Heartworks program, which is our art programming that we do again, and that we're focusing on individuals with special needs or disabilities. And those, again, we are working with some external entities or organizations like Harmony Day Support, who brings their folks in every so often. I think it's now about every 2 weeks or 3 weeks that they come. And again, we're trying to share with them the art that we may have in an exhibit or on the walls, but also immerse them in an art activity and or create something that they're going to take home with them. But again, it's just showing how important it is to expose all different types of people to art, and get them involved. And so those are two programs that I'm sure a lot of people are not very familiar with.
Yeah. And I will say, for those who are looking for volunteer opportunities, those two programs specifically have lots of opportunity for volunteers. So if you are interested in using those healing properties of arts, which is kind of what Heartworks is all about.
Absolutely.
It's the healing property of art. The process of creating it is the healing process. And there's a lot of medical research behind that now, saying that, it goes into our wellness and good well-being.
Right.
If you are interested in volunteering for those, we're always looking for volunteers. Those sessions usually run anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, maybe beginning to end. And it's fun because I'm going to use Harmony Day Support. I'll pick on them a little bit, but CAB Kids is kind of the same way. You grow this community where they see you and they hug you and they say hello. Like, they are joyful to make those connections.
Yes.
Although, I'm saying that in CAB Kids is the same way. We have kids that now come in that will hug us because they've seen us again. They keep coming back to them. So it builds that sense of community. Which I think is just as important for us as the people who run it as it is for the visitors who are coming.
Absolutely.
The community is just as important.
Yeah. I was really sad that Harmony Day Support wasn't coming in during the 4 weeks that I was here, because, even if I didn't participate in every one of them, I would come in and say hello and talk to them. And again, like you said, getting that hug, or they're showing their appreciation, or sharing what they made, that kind of thing, is wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially when they tell us who they're going to give it to.
Right.
Who they made it for.
Yes, definitely.
And every once in a while they said, I made this for you. I'm not sure that's who they had in mind at the time.
Right.
But I still accept it.
I do have a couple of pieces that are on my bulletin board in my office down in Florida that I received from that. And then, I just think that it's important that our community knows that we're doing that additional type of outreach, and we're taking that out as well. So we're going to community events and having pop-up booths and exposing the community. So if they can't get into the Bauer Center, we're trying to be out and about in the community doing outreach as well. And we hope to grow that. Again, it takes a big volunteer base. So the more volunteers that we can recruit to help with things like that, no experience necessary. We'll provide any necessary training, but there's really not a lot. It's other than just enjoying working with other people, being hands-on and helping them, when they're working on one of their projects or art activities, that type of thing. And just being a smiling face is really what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some other ways for people to get involved with the Bauer Center?
So, there's lots of volunteer opportunities. If you yourself are an artist or a past even educator in the arts and you're interested in teaching something, we're always looking for additional teachers to offer additional art classes or programming for youth and adults. So if that's an area that you're interested in, we're always looking for that. We actually, as an instructor, if you come in, that we don't ask you to volunteer your services. That is a contract paid position. So if that's something that you might be interested in, our program director, Anna, would be more than happy to chat with them.
I mean, it's part of our mission to give a living wage to artists.
That's right. From a volunteer perspective, we always are looking for volunteers. If you're very interested in more of the event side of it, we always need volunteers to assist with our events. That could be some of our larger fundraising events, but that could also mean our concerts and performances. And so it could be greeting the guests at the door and collecting tickets. It could be working the concessions. If you want to come in and you're more behind the scenes and you want to help with setup, we have to set up chairs and things like that for the performance and concerts, and all that goes into putting those on. We also have committee opportunities. So if you'd like to serve on a committee and you would, for example, want to be on programming where you help to develop the events and the programming, if you're more of a fundraiser and you want to help from a development side of it, we have opportunity to help with doing outreach on the fundraising aspect for the organization. And we also obviously have a board of directors, and so we're always looking for volunteers that would like to serve on the board to obviously help with the overall management and operation of the Bauer Center for the Arts. So there are lots of different opportunities for involvement beyond being a guest and coming to the programming that we offer, but also if you'd like to volunteer in different ways.
Yeah. I mean, volunteers and fundraising are two of the biggest needs we have.
Absolutely.
We've got a big, beautiful art center, but as you mentioned before, a big, beautiful art center doesn't pay for itself.
Right.
And as of this week, when the air conditioning is not working,
right.
We still have to pay somebody to come fix it, which they will. But, we have a very small staff to make lots and lots of things happen.
Yes.
I always joke that there's 2.5 of us that work the job of 10 because we're doing so many things all the time. And so your donations and your support help keep that place open,
right,
and help us provide everything that we can to do what the Bauer Center does.
Exactly. And we talked about what it takes, and it also takes the tools and the supplies for the arts programming that we offer. And again, to keep the fees down so that we're not having to collect that through your fee to participate to pay for your art supplies. Sometimes we do have to add an additional fee because a specific art class that you're doing does require some specific materials. But for the most part, you can come in and see our classroom. It's busting at the seams with the supplies and things that we manage and, try to utilize in all of the classes that we offer to keep it affordable. But there's a lot of tools that go into a lot of these art classes, especially our mosaics and our clay and pottery. And, we run a kiln and the wheels and things like that. And clay itself can get quite expensive.
Right.
So
Stained glass, which is starting
yes,
back up.
yeah, new stained glass class that I'm very excited to see come back, because we did have an interest in that a couple of years ago, and it's nice that that's coming back.
Yeah. So I'm looking at our time, and we've been talking here forever, but that's
Right.
fine. So it's been 20 years. It's our 20-year anniversary. So let's project in the future. In 20 years, we're both alive, but we're both retired.
Right.
And we're sitting at the 40-year celebration of the Bauer Center. What do you see? What do you hope to see in 20 years?
Wow. I mean, I'd love to, obviously, the forms of art change over the years. So who knows what kind of art we could see, in another 20 years. We see a lot of graphic design, and we even have some video in our current exhibit for the first time. So I can only imagine, what that's going to look like in that time frame. I'd love to see that the character of the building as being a historic structure has still been kept, but also modernized in some ways. Right. We always have a wish list of things that need to be done. So you definitely love the history of the building, because it is a work of art.
Oh, absolutely.
And we get people that come to see it because of the history of the St. John's Episcopal Church and that type of thing. They'll just come in to see the architecture of the building versus, necessarily to see the exhibit, which is very interesting. So I hope that will be maintained in some way, shape, or form, but that there will be the ability to expand upon the existing structure. We're bursting at the seams. It would really be nice to somehow see an expansion, whether it be an additional location somewhere in the community that we might move the classes and classrooms to, like, or the administrative offices or something like that, like a satellite office. That was always a pie in the sky dream for me, was, how could we expand, because we're limited to the property.
Yeah, and we've used every corner of that
We've
building.
used every corner of the existing building. At once upon a time, there is a design of actually redoing and expanding but it would take away from the parking, which becomes an issue. But it would be nice to see, that potential for that expansion. We have a lot of artists in our community that are looking for studio spaces, and that's one thing that we didn't mention that is probably something people don't know, is that we do have studio artists that are working in studios in our building, but we have no more space for that. And so being able to expand upon that to provide working spaces for additional artists, to possibly expand what we call our emerging artist program, so that we can provide more opportunities for new artists that are, just coming into their own, and they're looking for opportunities to expand, being able to do more of that. So I'd hope to see something like that as well.
The parking garage. That's what I'm
dreaming
of, a parking garage with an addition on the top.
Yeah.
Of studios and a dance studio.
There you go.
Because we don't have a dance studio. All right. Thank you for joining me today, Susan, and letting our listeners get to know you and a little bit about the person behind the voice, behind the Bauer, and the person who's writing you all these letters, sometimes asking you for a little donation to help it go a little further. You've given over a decade of time and energy to the Bauer Center, and even more to nonprofit organizations throughout our region. And I think one of the things that makes this place so special is that people like you continue to believe that the arts can bring people together, can create opportunities, and make a community stronger. So as we celebrate our 20th anniversary, we're not just looking back on where we've been, we're looking ahead at what comes next. And we want you, our community, to be part of that story. So there are so many ways to be part of the Bauer: to come see an exhibition, to take a class, to attend a concert or performance, bring your family to one of our free programs, visit a studio artist, volunteer your time, or make a donation to help us continue providing these opportunities to our community. Every one of those things helps the Bauer Center for the Arts to thrive. And of course, we've got plenty of things happening here over the next couple weeks, and I just want to talk about a few of those. Opening just last week was the National Juried Exhibition Art in Motion, an exhibit centered around examining the concept of motion. These are stunning pieces in both of our galleries. Galleries are open Wednesday through Friday from 1 until 6, Saturdays from 11 till 3. And if that doesn't fit your schedule, give us a call, because often we can arrange a private time for you to come in and take a look if you can't get there during our gallery hours. We also invite everyone in the public, in the community, to come see The awards ceremony on September 11th. Admission for that is free. That's where they're going to give the awards. Meet many of the artists who have this stunning work in our exhibition spaces. Our fall season classes have just been released, so you can join us for classes in drawing, painting, pottery, stained glass weaving, mosaics, and more. Whether you're looking for a 6-week class or a 1-day warrior workshop where you just dabble, we have something for every artist at every skill level. And for the music lovers, we're excited to feature Swan Song out of Charlottesville on September 12th. I have a hard time explaining their music, but when I listen to it, this makes sense. They spin magic, infusing strings with classical piano into contemporary compositions.
Yes.
Finally, don't forget to save the date. Tickets are now on sale for the annual fundraiser Art of Pairing this year in celebration of the 20th birthday and as a nod to our namesake, Dr. Bauer. The theme will be Bauer at the Bayou. We may not be able to bring back his Crawfish Festival, but we've got a killer event lined up for all of you this year. Plus, backed by popular demand, will be Music Road Co. The ticket sales are live on our website right now, and you're not going to want to miss it. For more information about upcoming exhibitions, classes, concerts, performances, volunteer opportunities, and ways to support Bauer Center for the Arts, visit bowercenter.org, follow us on social media, or just stop by and see us in person. Thanks for listening to Behind the Bauer, and we'll see you all soon.